this Minecraft guide, I'm gonna show you the best ways to farm tons of diamonds really fast, even very early in the game. I'm gonna explain everything step by step so you can get that juicy full diamond kit in absolutely no time. Let's get right into it. First of all, let's very quickly go over how diamonds in Minecraft are generated in the first place. See, the rule of thumb here is actually really easy. Diamonds in Minecraft can spawn anywhere from Y level 16 all the way down to bedrock. However, the deeper you go, the more likely it becomes to actually find them. Also, one important thing to keep in mind is, diamond veins usually spawn in a 2x2x2 block composition. Most of the time though, it's unfortunately not a full cube. However, while in the past, this was the only shape that diamonds could ever spawn in, recently there was a change where it's now also possible, albeit very unlikely, that there are much bigger diamond veins spawning, so if you find one of those, you can consider yourself very darn lucky. And finally, one more very important thing to keep in mind is that diamonds have a much lower chance of generating when they are exposed to air. What that means is, it's much more common for diamond veins to be spawned in a location where they're completely surrounded by other blocks, and spots like, for example, in a cave wall, where they're open to air on one side, are much less likely. But now that we know all that, let's finally talk about how you can actually farm diamonds. The first method that I want to discuss today, and also one of the most straightforward ones, would be caving, but there's actually a lot you need to know about it if you want to do it as efficient as possible, so let's talk about all the ins and outs. First of all, yes, as we were just talking about the diamond generation, I did in fact say it is less likely that diamonds are going to be spawned right on the wall of a cave. However, given the fact that caves can be pretty freaking massive, exploring them is still a very efficient way to find diamonds simply because you don't need to do any digging yourself. Here are a couple of very important tips that you want to keep in mind. First of all, caves in Minecraft are pretty dangerous because monsters can spawn in the dark. So, ideally, don't even enter a cave before you don't have at least full iron armor and gear, plus a shield to protect yourself from those pesky skeletons and their arrow fire. Also, make sure to bring a bunch of torches to light up the cave so you can actually see something, and maybe even a couple of signs to help you find the way back out. Next, if you are already a little bit further in the game, one thing that I can also highly recommend would be to brew potions that help you see in the dark. This makes caving a whole lot more comfortable. And another huge tip, and this doesn't only go for caving, but also for all other ways of mining diamonds, I would recommend that as soon as you can, you try to get an enchantment table going and get some sort of Fortune 3 pickaxe, whether that be diamond or maybe even just an iron pickaxe. Just have something with Fortune 3 on it, because once you get this single enchantment going, you're gonna get so much more diamond drops from a diamond block. You should really try to get this as early as possible. And by the way, if you would like to see a full guide on how enchantment works in Minecraft in the first place, then I'm gonna make one very soon here on this channel, so if you don't want to miss that day one, then you might want to consider maybe leaving the channel a sub. Welcome to the crew! However, just randomly running through a cave and hoping to find diamonds is not the only thing that you can do. Another great tip that I recently saw on the channel of the Mine Mentor was that if you have a moss block and a lot of bone meal, what you can actually do is put the moss block down on the cave floor and use the bone meal on it to turn all the surrounding stone blocks also into moss blocks, which you can then mine away super duper quickly with just a hoe. By doing this, you can very quickly and very easily remove the upper layer of the cave floor to maybe uncover diamonds that are below it. Remember what we said in the beginning of the video, diamonds are much more likely to be spawned in a location completely surrounded by stone. So if you are in a deep cave and you can easily remove the top stone layer, there's a very good chance you're gonna find a bunch of diamonds right below it. And the last way of cave mining that I want to talk about is probably the most efficient one as well, and that would be underwater cave mining. See, the great thing about underwater caves is that diamonds are much more likely to spawn on the cave walls because due to the water, the cave walls are not exposed to air, meaning you don't get the lower spawn chance that you would otherwise have. And also, monsters don't spawn underwater, so this one is much safer too. The only equipment that you really want to have if you decide to do this is, ideally, bring a couple of magma blocks that you can place underwater because the air bubbles created by them will help you recover your breath underwater. But in case you're playing on the Java version, you can also bring doors and just place them down to create a spot for yourself underwater where you can recover your breath too. But also here, if you already have a brewing station at this point, then I would highly recommend getting both a night vision potion as well as one of those that helps you breathe underwater. Long story short, if you ever find an underwater cave, make sure that you explore it and see if there are diamonds. And before we go on, if you could maybe leave the video a quick like, that'd be super duper nice because it helps the video big time with the YouTube algorithm, especially on smaller channels like mine. Thank you so much for your support. But yeah, that would be all for the cave mining. The next strategy that I want to talk about is probably the most common and most used one in the form of strip mining, but before you click off, I personally do it a little bit different than most others, so I think this might be quite interesting. Let me explain. See, as we initially said, the deeper you go, the higher the chance of finding diamonds. The, in my opinion, ideal height to find diamonds would be Y-58 because the bedrock starts spawning at -60, so this way you're mining exactly at the right height for there to be enough space for a full diamond deposit between you and the bedrock. However, while -58 is technically the best height to mine, there is a little bit of an issue in that you will encounter underground lava lakes at this height, and that can be a little bit bothersome. So if you would rather avoid these lava lakes, then I would recommend going for -53 instead. Technically, the chance of diamonds is a little bit lower there, but I think it's a good trade-off for convenience. As for how this strip mining works in the first place, the first thing you want to do is build one large corridor, and then branching off to the sides, you want to build small 2x1 tunnels. But here's the thing. Most people usually recommend leaving 2 blocks between those branches. This way, you expose all the blocks around these tunnels with 0 blind spots, so whenever there's a diamond generating, you would see it. But I personally do this a little bit different in that I don't take 2 blocks, but actually a 3-block gap between my branches because, as we initially said, diamonds usually spawn in some kind of cube shape, 2x2x2, meaning it is very unlikely that there'll ever be a diamond spawn that looks like this. So even if you leave a 3-block gap and technically have a blind spot of 1 block in the middle, it's still extremely unlikely that you're ever gonna miss a diamond because the diamond veins are gonna be visible at least from one of the 2 tunnels. So yeah, this would be how I personally do my branch mining. But especially if you're a bit earlier in the game, then the problem is that it takes a lot of time to mine through the deep slate with just an iron pickaxe, and one way to make it a little bit less tedious would be a technique called crawl mining. See, what you do here is basically the same thing that you do with the branch mining. Build your corridor in the middle and then the branches to the sides. However, unlike normal branch mining, here you're not doing 2x1 branches, but only 1x1 branches through which you will actually crawl. The way you do this is, you bring a trapdoor, put it to the side of the wall like this and flap it upwards, go under it, flap it down again, and then this will push you into a prone position in which you can actually fit into a 1x1 mineshaft. If you wanted to, you could, instead of the trapdoor, also just use a water bucket to get into swim mode and crawl into the hole that way. This is very cool because you can move forward by only mining 1 block per step, which means you will make much quicker progress. If you don't have a crazy pickaxe yet, then this would be my recommendation, and a positive side effect is that you technically don't even need to place torches because in a 1x1 hole, monsters can't spawn anyway. Just one last very important thing to keep in mind here is, once you eventually find diamonds, then make sure to not jump into the hole that you dug because that will then take you out of the prone position, but instead, if the diamonds fall down 1 block, just fill up that hole with some other blocks, which will push the diamonds up to your height, allowing you to just stay in that prone position all the time. But if you really don't like to do the boring underground mining, then don't worry because the next method might be for you, and that would be exploring. See, in Minecraft, you can't only get diamonds from actively mining them underground. Instead, one thing you can also do is just explore the world around you, because basically in all structures that generate, there is a chance you're gonna find a loot chest with diamonds in them. Starting out, technically it's even possible to find diamonds in a wooden chest in a normal village. The chance is pretty low, but it's not impossible. However, if you want to go the explorer route, then one of the best methods that I can recommend is looking for shipwrecks, because while it is pretty unlikely to find a diamond directly in the ship, you will most likely find a treasure map, which will lead you to a buried treasure, and those buried treasure chests have almost a 50% chance to have diamonds in them. Another great structure to raid for diamonds would be trial chambers, because while they are a bit more dangerous to fight your way through, they are usually pretty big and can contain multiple loot chests with decent diamond probabilities. And lastly, one structure that I wouldn't underestimate would also be normal mine shafts underground, because also here, the probability of having diamonds in the chest is pretty low, but given that they are pretty big, you're gonna have multiple chests spawning in there, and due to the fact that these mine shafts are already deep down in the ground, there's a decent chance you'll actually find regular diamond blocks on the walls. And one last tip from my side, if you want to know right away where all the generated structures around you are, then you can just use the Minecraft seed map, and that will instantly map out all the points of interest in your vicinity. It kind of feels like cheating, but hey, you do you. The next point on today's list is pretty similar to exploration, but this one is actually even more efficient, and that would be looking for fossils. See, what you're trying to do here is find fossils deep underground, because the blocks surrounding those ancient bones oftentimes generate a bunch of diamonds. Here's how you do that most efficiently. First of all, also here, you want to go to the Minecraft seed map and enter the seed of your world. Next, up here, you want to filter out all the fluff that you don't need and only enable the fossils, which you will then find in swamp or desert biomes. If they don't show up on the map right away, you might want to zoom in a little bit, and once you get closer, they will appear. Next, click through the bone symbols on screen and try to find those that are below Y-50. Those are the ones where you can find the diamonds around. And then, all you gotta do is visit those coordinates, dig all the way down until you find the fossilized bones, and then, more often than not, you're gonna find plentiful diamond blocks around them. Also here, kinda sorta feels like cheating, but hey, it is pretty darn efficient, especially if you have a big desert nearby. And last, but definitely not least, let's talk about the easiest and fastest way to get diamonds. This one is so cheap it might as well be a cheat, and that, of course, has to do with villager trading. Here's how that works. First of all you really need to do is find a normal village somewhere out in the world. You don't need to build a trading hub or a villager breeder, all not necessary, just find a normal village. Once you have one, you're looking for 3 specific NPCs, those being the armorer, the weaponsmith, as well as the toolsmith. Some villages already come with those villagers right away, but if your village does not, then don't worry, you can easily create them yourself. All you need to do is put down a blast furnace, which will then turn one unemployed villager into an armorer. For the weaponsmith, you put down a grindstone, and to get a toolsmith, put down a smithing table, and that will then turn an idle villager into that. Once you have these 3 NPCs, you need to do quite a lot of trading with them to level them up to the max level, but this is actually pretty simple, because all you need to do is sell them a bunch of coal and maybe buy some iron stuff back, but once they are at max level, oh boy, you can just use the emeralds from trading to get full sets of diamond gear, diamond armor, and even enchanted diamond tools from the toolsmith. Yes, technically you're not getting diamonds directly, but in most cases you're gonna use those diamonds for gear anyway, and this way you can just get all that diamond gear easily for free. Pretty simple, and definitely the fastest and easiest way to get yourself kitted out in drip in absolutely no time. Hope to see you in the next one, and until then, craft well!